Alright, we continue from where we left, part 2. In this one we will see what you will find the cam and talk about what you have to set up and really briefly introduce the toolpath, the NC program and post-processing. Then we can make extra content. This one should be everything that you need to start and experience with generating toolpath and everything, and then we can make extra content just for a more in detail look at the toolpath strategies, how to set up them, what you can change in the post-processing and blah blah blah. But I want to keep those videos short, just like part 1, part 2, just to refresh your mind also if there is too much time in between when you use actually the Fusion and the US. So just to refresh your mind, if in your normal, why we decide to use a CAM template, because in the normal model when you switch to the manufacturer you don't find nothing, so you have to create all the environment and all the variables, which is not really handy. While in the template you already will find already NC programs where they basically include all the presetting for the post-process and which operation you want to like transfer in the G code, and the setup, which is actually the one that contains the operation to mill your parts. Operation, you can change the name, but operation 1 links to the stock number 1, operation 1, and operation 2 links to the stock number 2, which is the second vice. You can easily duplicate those here, and select what you need, but you will see step by step. So if we focus now on this part that is done, so what you find in NC program, in operation 1 you see operation 1 setup, all the operations selected. You can remove some, you can add some, whatever you want. You see here a description of the work offset use. 1 means G54, 2 G55, 3 G56, etc, etc, etc. The tool, if it's specified or not, and the name of the operation. So you have it to the adaptive, drilling, contouring, and blah blah blah. And in the setting you call the machine, presetting, like where we decide the safe retract, clearance 8, and then the built-in tolerance speed. I give it the high feed rate of 6000, which is fast enough but not scary fast. If that's use instead of G00 for high feed rate, it use G01. If you press while I hear G00, it will use G00, so instead of G1, so you don't have linear movement for fast movement, but you will have like a 15 meter a minute in whatever it takes to get there as fast as possible. So it's quite risky because you can bump into part. That's why I leave it unchecked. And then the name of the program, as long as number, because I only accept numbers, and in the comments you can write like operation 1 drilling and blah blah blah, just like that will be set in the brackets in the second line of the G code, so that will be handy on the us to remember like which is your parts. I think that's where it goes. Otherwise you can modify in the G code itself after the post-processing, but this one I think that's what it does. This is the folder where you will put the post-process, so the G code, so you can set your folder that you want. The extension, you don't have to touch it, all the rest it's all fine. Alright, now in the setup it's related to the stock, so everything starts with the stock. Here this operation has a missing reference. That's because every time you will have like a different stock, not a stock but different model and everything, so you have to say no here, so it will keep all the previous one, you just have to update them. So in the model, since this yellow model I just added, it doesn't know it, so as default you select everything. You just have to remove it, select your parts, and now the model is your part. In the features, here there is nothing because there is a more that's optional, you can remove it as well, but it's nice. So in that way you will avoid to touch the feature, just to be sure. and then you have the box. So then you go to the stock. The stock is already correct, is the body, and is the body of stock 1. So if you see, it has the same size of what you set in the parametric value at the beginning. So from solid, and which is the body. Or the alternative is to create it here, the stock, but it just takes more time than what is needed. And the last tab is the program number, so the name, and then like the machine coordinates. If you say 1, that means that it's G54. If you say 0, is it default G54. If you say 2, is G55, etc. If you want to make the same parts on multiple setup, like G54, G55, then you activate multiple work offset. And here will be number of instance, so how many times 2. Number of work offset increment 1, that means that we will make G54, G55. If you say 3, will be G54, G55, and then G56 that you have to find it. If you say 2 and increment 2 will be G54 and G56. So that's how you play with it. And you can also define how you want to order that. So like if you make 2 operations, you want to order by the operation. Usually you always select order by tool, so with the same tool you will do as much as possible, G54 and the second work coordinates, and then switch to the other one to be faster. That's a bit more advanced CAM. And then here, as default, I set the origin to be on top of the stock in the middle, but of course you can change it to the corner, top, left corner, or whatever. That's up to you and what you want to machine. And here I pre-made some of the most useful strategies. So you have a facing with a, so those tools refer to the tool library that will be a separate video. For the moment are just imaginary tools, but most likely what we will have in future, because those are the most common ones. So I put we can level, but that would be distracting, so we keep it like that. So that's like a 60mm face mill that we have downstairs to face your parts. Then you have a 2D adaptive just to make the pockets, wrap it out with the spot, the chamfer mill or spot drill to predefine the holes, and then some drilling, contouring, to de-chamfer. Of course now you don't see nothing because I didn't select nothing. Those are already there to you to then just modify for what you need. So you can, for instance, like I put some thread milling. Let's say it is a part we will need, but we don't have the tool ready, so you don't want anymore. Perfect, you select it, you remove it, so you just keep what you actually need. Why did I remove it? Huh. So I guess it doesn't like it. Usually if you press delete it will remove it, but not in this case. So you don't, so I have here as much aspiration you will probably need, and then you just keep what you need. So for instance, like we're going to face, here is the tool number 4, that is you will find it in the as tool library. Those are presetting that I already made, so like a facing aluminum with a maximum of 1.5 depth of cut, so like in the axial load, and that's the width of cut. And then the second one is like just the finishing face aluminum with 0.25 depth maximal and the whole width of cut. So in this case we just offset the stock 0.2mm, so it's just a facing for a nice flat surface. So we select preset, and you see the speed, the feed rate, blah blah, those are already pre-made. Face is automatically detects the stock, so that's okay. The only thing that you have to give is in selection, you select the face that you want to face, or your parts, then you press OK, you see boom, and you get your tool path.